Hello class, my name is Renee Collins. My topic of research is the Nahda and Modernist Arabic literature. First off, I wanted to provide you with a definition for Nahda. Nahda, which is defined in the Arabic language, is called the awakening. Nahda is also described as the cultural renaissance that took place in Egypt during the 19th and 20th centuries. Nahda, according to the Free Dictionary, was a movement of the Arabic language. The movement was essentially changed to form a more modern literature that was inspired from the westernization taking place in the Arab countries. So let's go back a little bit to the history of how this is believed to have begun. There is a connection to the Napoleon invasion in Egypt, which took place in 1798. And one of the rulers, which we've already studied, Muhammad Ali, in Chapter 7 of A History of the Modern Middle East, which covers the response of Islamic society, it's noted there that the major portions of the land were moved to European control. This spanned from Indonesia to northern Nigeria. The movement, however, was felt far beyond the lengths its arms could control. There were some cities that were restricted from this rule, and they were found to have what we consider sovereign immunity today, or simply refuge from the control of the European rule. This is important because it was a time when the Europeans enacted a movement to have intellectual control. To fully facilitate the control, there had to be an intellectual modernization during this time of reform. Because many of the affected cities shared the Arabic language, there had to be uniformity so the movement could take place. There needed to be change to facilitate a modern tone to the language. So what took place was a modern Arabic literature was merged with classical Arabic literature. So during the time when the Ottoman Empire was being dismembered, after the end of World War I and well into World War II, the new literature was spread in the form of modern education. The education which came from the Western-inspired reform was not really received well because there remained a longing for the Islamic heritage of the Ottoman Empire. There was, however, the Tanzimat, which was a period of reformation where there was an acceptance of all religions and the program essentially flourished. So there was a state-sponsored educational expansion that was developed to focus on uniformity, and it included the employment of European teachers who basically taught the techniques, and it was really designed to focus on modern sciences along with modern literature. There was an increased concern, however, for the survival of the Islamic traditions. The spirit of solidarity followed by the rejection of the Western changes that had been made. And there was a group of new thinkers that really wanted to get back to some of the more traditional Islamic faiths. And that's outlined in Chapter 7 as well, under the reform of High Islam, in which there was a recognition of the importance to accommodate the European changes and accomplishments, because there was a lot of good that came out of that. But they also wanted to have a uniformity in the education. So there was a task that emerged to combine this with the Islamic framework that was being fought so hard to be changed. So the effort to develop a modernized Arabic literature was successful with the influence of the European and even some American literature being intertwined into the teachings. So the result was many words from the classic Arabic language was incorporated, and they remain in use today in the Arab world. So essentially there was a compromise. Much like, and a lot of you can probably relate to where we hear people talk about Spanglish, which is a combination of English and Spanish being used. In the Arabic literature, which spanned across the Arab world, included both the root system of the Arabic words, and they got kind of merged with a modern language. So this meant that the Arabic root system remained in place and the Western language was incorporated for scientific and modern inventions so that they could have a really an accepted form of this new modernized literature. And then what you have is there is kind of an acceptance by some and really an acceptance by most, I should say. But there was still one thing that remained, and that was the Quran, which is the religious teachings of Islam, and it's written in classic Arabic language. It is considered to be one of the best writings in the Arabic language and is a single source considered to have a significant influence on the Arabic language. Now, the Quran did not escape this modernization. It was actually rewritten in the modern form. However, most people still prefer the classical version, which is written in what you would consider the original Arabic language. So my sources are books from the class, and also the Encyclopedia 2, which is the free dictionary.com, and I focused on Nahda in that category as well. So I hope you learned something from my presentation. Thank you very much.